All right,
What's going on YouTube?
what's going on, everybody? This is Kevin and Spencer here for Delivering Sports this week. I am fully caught up in the football fever right now. I can't wait for preseason games to start. I can't wait for the seasons to start. So I thought we could kick off football season at Delivering Sports by going through each division and predicting who's going to win. Uh, Plain and simple. Not much else to it.
Explain it to me.
We're going to explain it to you, all right? So we're just going to go down this lovely list I have on NFL.com right now, and we'll start with the AFC East. So we have the AFC East comprising of the defending champion New England Patriots, the Miami Dolphins, the Buffalo Bills, and the New York Jets. What do you think, Spence? Take it away.
Well, Miami's out,
They
Buffalo's
stink.
out, and I'm trying to be as honest. I don't know. I'm trying to find the right word for what I'm trying to say here. Like, I want to give everyone an equal chance. You kind of know. You feel me there?
It's going to be
Um,
New England.
yeah.
There's no, yeah, I
It's
agree with you. So I agree with you, and I think there's no data or any kind of like thing out there that happened to any of these other three teams this offseason that makes me think that New England has any less of a shot to win this division or even the Super Bowl for that matter.
yeah.
I think there are team like I think two teams on this in this division are interesting. I think the Bills and Jets are interesting just because they have exciting young quarterbacks, and the Jets have Le'Veon Bell now, and I think that's gonna do well for them in improving. I'm not sure if it's I just it means nothing underneath the Patriots in this current regime. So they can improve all they want. They're not going to win the division.
Yeah. No, and it's really to me a big part of because we all know the Patriots don't really care too much about the regular season. So if there was a legitimate contender, I feel like um they would have an actual chance to win the regular season, but it's so weak, the division, and it ain't working out, Chief, you know.
All right.
So yeah, it'll be them, and we'll
We'll try and
we'll
survive
just
another year of the Tom Brady
yeah,
regime, man.
exactly. We'll just
Just
have to deal with the
trying
Patriots
to wait
again.
this motherfucker out, man. We're just trying to get this guy to retire.
We're trying to weather the storm, man. But it's been like 5 years, and none of the other teams have been good in that division. That's the problem, man.
You've had points in the past where the Jets go to the conference championship and stuff like that, but you never really thought of those actions as unseating the
There are,
Patriots as
yeah.
the king of that division. So that's
Let's
not
try
going
to
to
give
happen this year,
equivalent.
folks.
There are no they haven't had a team like the Chiefs come up.
Hmm.
I'm saying like the equivalent of it, like how the Chiefs have risen up, how the Chargers have risen up. They just haven't had that. They just stink,
It ain't
basically.
happening.
Yeah.
All right, so we agree there. This
I'm
is
glad we got
where
that out of the way
this one might be a little more contentious. We have the AFC North: Baltimore Ravens, Pittsburgh Steelers, Cleveland Browns, Cincinnati Bengals. Go ahead.
I know I'm not gonna just lie to everybody and be some sort of bigot or what I don't even know what you want to call it.
Just
Bigot's not the right word. But and say Pat Mahomes is gonna have a bad second season, but I don't think he'll be as good in his second season just stat wise
talking
because
about Baker Mayfield or Patrick
rookie
Mahomes.
quarterbacks are able to have good seasons because there's not a lot of film on them. But now there's going to be an entire off season, so people are going to be a little more prepared. He's still going to be very good. I still think they're going to win the division, of course, but I just think maybe we should tailor expectations for Pat Mahomes ever so slightly this season because full off seasons for tape is a much bigger deal than people might imagine. Um,
Wait, so are we talking about the AFC West or the AFC North?
Wait, you said AFC North? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's fine. We can talk about the AFC West.
Yeah, I guess we might as well since I just went on this tangent. I'm sorry, but yeah, I guess if we're gonna talk about the Chargers will be really good this year too. Although it looks like Melvin Gordon wants to be traded, so that could really
It doesn't
completely
look
mess
like
up
it. That's
the
exactly
situation.
what's going on. He does want to be
Yeah,
traded.
so that's not good.
um,
uh,
yeah. Go ahead.
I don't know. And then there's not much to say about that. It's just it's a bad situation that they shouldn't find themselves in, and they have had continual problems over the past few seasons of not paying players, and that's not good.
Yeah, when you look at this division, it's very easy to see the year that Mahomes is coming off of and be like, it's pretty obvious that he's going to lead that team to winning the division again. Not really considering how close it was last season, especially just because the Chiefs and the Chargers finished with the exact same record. So when you lose a weapon like Kareem Hunt, that's a serious hit to their offense. I don't think it's a hit that will completely wreck them. They still have Tyreek Hill. Is he suspended?
He's not going to play. He might never play again.
Do we know if Tyreek Hill is suspended?
He is suspended for sure, but the idea that he might not ever play again is like he needs to be reinstated. I'm pretty sure.
Let's find out.
But yeah, I agree.
The NFL will not. The NFL will not suspend Chiefs receiver Tyreek Hill. All right. Well, thanks. That's good job, Roger.
Right.
The guy should definitely be suspended is not suspended.
Come on,
good
man.
One, man. Good one. You did it again, Roger. Anyway,
that is not hot, as we say in the business.
No, it's very bad as far as morality.
Come on, brother.
But as far as football is concerned, it's a great news for the Chiefs because that's, you still have the top tight end in the league in Kelsey, and you still have a top wide receiver in Tyreek Hill. Those are still your main guys that Mahomes is going to be firing to. Kareem Hunt, they still have two decent guys out of the backfield in Damian. Is it Williams? I think it's Damian Williams, and then they have Carlos Hyde as well. So obviously their running game takes a punch, losing.
It takes a punch on Pat Mahomes too. Kareem Hunt. Let's not forget that Pat Mahomes didn't play as well without Kareem Hunt because that was a huge. First of all, Kareem Hunt's a really good football player.
A good pass catcher too.
Yeah, in the pass game as well, he was huge. So, that's definitely it's gonna be a part of it without a doubt.
I don't imagine I think there is big potential for a drop off this season from last. I don't think it's going to be too big, but I do think it's going to be big enough to where the Chargers could potentially slide in and take that division because regardless of contract disputes and whatnot, I do see Melvin Gordon suiting up at least this season to play for the Chargers because I think he's still under contract, and they're just. He
says he won't.
I don't know.
He says he's going to Le'Veon Bell route.
I don't know. That's very strange for him to do because his resume is a lot less impressive than guys like Le'Veon Bell. And
he just had the good
Elliott.
season last year, so.
So, I know Zeke is praying Melvin Gordon gets paid because.
And honestly, it didn't really work out so well for Le'Veon Bell.
It
he
did
didn't
not.
get a big deal.
It did not.
I don't know. Maybe it's a pro thing.
Yeah, it's just you're not gonna. I don't think there's gonna be a running back anytime soon that's gonna reset the entire market for running backs and redefine their value. When you find the guy that can rush for 1,500 yards, catch for 800 yards, and play all 16 games and play into the playoffs, I think then you'll have a conversation about that guy and why his name is Saquon Barkley. But until we actually see that happen, I think we can continue to see more of this. It's just these Mexican standoff holdouts. It's just first guy who budges loses, and I think the Chargers are much. I think they're much better off. I think they're much more comfortable not budging than Melvin Gordon is. I think Melvin Gordon has a lot more at stake than the Chargers as a whole do.
Yeah, I agree.
So for as an official prediction for who's going to win that division, I'm going to go with the Chargers.
I'm still going Chiefs. I think they'll be good, and I think Philip Rivers is going to start declining more and more.
Well, not to go without saying the other two teams in this division. Obviously, there's only two clear-cut contenders to win it. We have the Broncos and we have the Raiders too. How do you feel about those two teams?
Not great. The Broncos are they've signed their contract. They signed their soul away when they won the Super Bowl, which I think is a great idea because they won a Super Bowl. It's just going to be a long time before they're back into contention of anything. And the Raiders are just the Hollywood, look at this team of the
They're
NFL.
Just the spectacle. They're the spectacle.
They are the spectacle, and it's very fun to watch the spectacle. So in that front, I think it's good.
I think at the very least, the Raiders are going to be more fun to watch this year.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. No, they're going to be the fun team to watch this season.
We were talking about an off pod, when you essentially upgrade Amari Cooper to Antonio Brown, that's like the ultimate like litmus test for like you look at your quarterback and you say, hey, I just got you the best receiver in the NFL. If you can't put up a season similar to what you had, back in a couple years ago when you put up like 4,000 yards and went 12-4, then we might have to start looking elsewhere. So that's going to be an interesting storyline for the Raiders. I think they had a really good draft despite people like joking on them, like taking Cleveland
The
Farrell.
thing is, dude, with the NFL
like,
draft, it's like they picked high on all three of their first round picks or whatever.
mm-hmm.
But like if you get your guys, then everyone like then it looks like a good draft, right?
Value is incredibly like it's about as sustainable and as consistent as Bitcoin, man. You can get value. You can get value in the 6th round, man. You can get an all like NFL Pro Bowler in the 6th round. Like it doesn't
almost
really matter.
Nobody remembers like where players are drafted in the NFL like it is in the NBA.
Yeah,
almost
it's really just only matters like if you get guys that fit your system and if you like you do your due diligence on guys. So
yeah. So
I think due to that, I think the Raiders are going to improve. I think Denver actually ends up in last place this year.
I don't think they'll be in last place. They'll probably win like 6 games maybe, and that would be good for them, I think.
I think 6 to 7 games would be a good improvement for them.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so that's the AFC West. Spencer has the Chiefs. I have the Chargers taking the division. Let's move to the AFC North that I was originally talking about. What do we think goes on in the AFC North with the Ravens, Steelers, Browns, and Bengals?
Well, obviously the conglomerate team, the other like fun team to watch, I guess, would be the Browns. That's what everyone's talking about. They've kind of tailored off a little bit, but since all the hype, everyone that's the easy target to say like they are going to take it all or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying a second-year quarterback leading to a division like title. I think it's impossible, honestly.
So who do you got?
As much as I think Baker Mayfield's good,
he's great.
It will be between this. Well, I don't know. It'll be the Steelers because as much as I like Lamar Jackson, I think he had quite a good rookie go at it. Obviously, their team was in the playoffs, which was pretty good for a rookie.
I think if having a full year of film on anyone is going to be debilitating, it's going to be on Lamar Jackson.
It's huge, with the offense that they run, right? So, yeah, that's a huge disadvantage for him, especially running quarterbacks, or like not running. He's not a running quarterback, but mobile quarterbacks, I should say. That is certainly not good. They'll be good though because their defense is good. So like you'll always be able to kind of ride, and you'll be able to ride on that in the NFL for as long as it's out.
That's essentially what they did last season as well. So
yeah, right.
I agree in your skepticism of the Browns. I don't think talent warrants you getting in to the playoffs alone, winning your division alone. I telling you that from experience. A guy who's been a fan of a team that had the best wide receiver and the best running back in the league for the past 5 years and have absolutely nothing to show for it, essentially.
Right.
Had the best receiver in the league last year, had, quarterback throw for 5,000 yards and didn't make the playoffs. So talent really only gets you so far. Talent can be good exactly. Talent could be good for, I think the only thing it comes close to guaranteeing you is an above 500 record. And that's it. It doesn't guarantee you the playoffs. Doesn't guarantee you the division. So I'm in the most I'll believe it when I see it mode when it comes to Cleveland because as a Steelers fan, I watch this team twice a year for 15 years straight since I've been watching football. They've built up no good faith with me in that sense of like me being able to believe in them to put together a division-winning season. I think they're immensely talented. If they can put it together, this is the year to do it. And if I'm wrong, I'll graciously accept that I'm wrong and that I was letting my biases. Yes, if I will admit that I'm letting my biases get to the best of me right now. But until I see it happen, I'm not going to bet on them. I do also think it's between the Ravens and the Steelers. I think the Steelers are presenting more of a unified front this year. There was a lot of stuff getting in the way last season. Antonio Brown liking, pictures of him in other uniforms. You had, defensive guys getting asked about Le'Veon Bell's contract week in and week out. Like that was in any way relevant. Like there's just too much stuff distracting. And obviously you lose talent, but I think I think losing. I think addition by subtraction is relevant in this situation. This has kind of always been, what the Steelers are. The Steelers had only very recently joined in on this like league-wide arms race and getting the best possible receiver, getting the best possible running back, and having that dual threat through the air and on the ground that a lot of teams are adopting. But when you look at like the passage of the NFL, the history of the NFL, like none of those teams really have gone out and won Super Bowls as of late. It's always been guys like, it's always been, stellar quarterbacks surrounded by, above average to good, skill players. And I think the Steelers getting back to kind of defensive minded, they're going to run the ball and spread the ball around amongst their receivers. I think it's going to be a more comfortable year for them, and I think it's going to lead to them easily winning this division. I think the Ravens are going to give them trouble as they always do, but I think this still comes out with the Steelers winning the division this year.
Yeah, the Steelers will go as far as Ben Roethlisberger goes, which could either be a really good thing or a really bad thing too. Like that's always a part of it now.
And me and my like reservations on him, especially like as we go further and further into his career and as he gets older. It's hard to deny 5,100 yards and 34 touchdowns. He had a lot of interceptions, but I watched a lot of these games. A lot of them were tip passes. A lot of them were like wonky interceptions that I wouldn't really hold against him. A lot of them were a lot of them were bad and I can hold against him, but a lot of them weren't. And when you offset it with 5,100 yards and 34 touchdowns, he earned my trust this season. So I trust in him going into this year. And it is true now. Like there's no one else to kind of put the blame on or even like kind of look at anymore. It's gonna fall solely on Ben Roethlisberger this year. And I trust that. He's won 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, it's hard to argue. Yeah, like I said, it's either good or bad, like on him,
And the Steelers clearly believe that he can still take them pretty far. He's just got an extension, so yeah, we'll see. We'll see if Juju can be a number 1 receiver coming off a 1,400-yard season. We'll see if James Conner can be a 1,000-yard rusher this year. It's all dependent on a lot of things, but I think the Steelers most importantly filled out the defense, and I think the defense, like the additions they made on defense, is what's gonna make the difference for them this season, compared to last. So I think you and I both have the Steelers taking the AFC North. Let's move on to the AFC South. We got the Texans, the Colts, the Titans, and the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is a pretty tough division, I would say, in and of itself.
Run that by me one more time, so I'm
making sure I'm on this. Houston Texans, who went 11-5 last season. We have the Indianapolis Colts, who went 10-6. We have the Tennessee Titans, who went 9-7, and the Jacksonville Jaguars, who went 5-11. Pretty tough division.
Not easy.
Pretty
what do you
tough.
Think?
It's a pretty big toss-up for me. I think the Jaguars will make a jump this year just by having Nick Foles. I think he's just inherently just an upgrade from Blake Bortles. I don't think it's going to be nearly enough to win the division, though. Their defense is going to be nasty. It's been nasty for the past few years. I think
but it should in all like legitimateness, when you are not, I don't even know what the word is, like when you just look at it, it should be the Jaguars, because they have this incredible defense that couldn't do anything because of how bad Blake Bortles was.
And that's really what lost them, most of their games last season. It's just the fact that their quarterback could not do anything couldn't do anything, especially when they needed him to. But when you look at the Texans, you look at the Colts. I think the Colts are the best combination of the two sides of the football. It's the same argument with Ben Roethlisberger. They'll go as far as Andrew Luck takes them. No matter how good, their defense is or anything else. If he's not healthy, it's not going to work. And they are still, like, years later off this shoulder surgery, he's still having issues. And we're still, like, questioning whether or not he's going to be full go or if he's going to be 100% to start the season. So I want to say the Colts, barring any injury from Andrew Luck. I think I have the Colts taking this division.
The Colts defense is still butt in my mind, so it's still something that I have to like. That's another seed to believe. Like I love Andrew Luck. I think he's a great quarterback. I followed him in college and stuff. But until that team like as a whole is like not ass, you know.
Well, they have a great secondary. I'm trying to pull up their rankings right now from last season.
Yeah.
But go on. What are your reservations on the Colts?
I'm just saying, like, well, of course, the Andrew Luck injury, like, that's always like, is this guy gonna get hurt again? You know, like that's certainly possible.
So they were 11th in yards per game last year. They gave up 339 yards per game. So just outside of the top 10. So there's still strides to be made. They're not a horrid defense. It's not as bad of a defense, but I don't think they're not the best. They're also not the best defense in their division. The Titans had a better defense by a hair. It's tough, and the Texans are right behind them as well. So it truly is a tough defense because all four of these teams are in the top half of the league as far as defensive and yards allowed per game.
Right.
But if
so I personally believe it's going to be the Jaguars just because of I don't think Nick Foles is great, but I think just like that team's so set up, it's like please just don't be bad, then we'll be good.
That's a big jump, man. That's a big jump.
Not before the season before that, though. You know.
That's true.
The season before that, everyone thought they were going to the Super Bowl.
So where did that leave the Texans for you? What do you think about the Texans?
I really like Deshaun Watson, dude. Well, obviously, he's just like a crazy good quarterback.
Fantastic.
They're just a solid team, honestly. It's just in terms of winning the entire regular season, in terms of that consistency on both sides of the ball, I think it has to go to the Jaguars or the Colts. But they're going to be really good. If they won it, I wouldn't be surprised. I can say that too. Texans. Definitely. Without a doubt, yeah.
Man, DeAndre Hopkins I can't even put into words how good he is. It's so hard for me to say that I don't.
He's the true Hooper equivalent of the NFL.
Like watching DeAndre Hopkins catch a football is like watching Lou Williams in isolation. You're just like, Jesus, man, how is this happening? You know? So
yeah,
it kills me to say that I don't think this team will win the division, but I still think that two teams from the AFC South make the playoffs. I personally think it's going to be the Colts and the Texans again.
Wow, no Jaguars, huh?
No, I'm not. I don't think they have the skill players outside of Leonard Fournette to really maximize Nick Foles over the course of a 16-game season. The defense is going to be there, and they're going to improve just by virtue of not having a shit quarterback anymore.
Right.
But I don't know if it's going to be enough to win this division. This is a tough division. So that does it for the AFC. Who's your AFC champion?
You can't say anything other than the Patriots, right?
I will because I'm stupid. I'm gonna go say the Steelers. I'm a biased Steeler fan, but I have a really good feeling about them coming into this season. I think their defense really is going to take a huge step up this year, especially now that they have made an attempt to fill the Ryan Shazier-sized hole in the middle of their defense with Devin Bush. The Steelers I've always trusted the Steelers to draft linebackers, so if this is a guy that they felt the need to draft to trade into the top 10 and draft, I think this guy he has to be special. And he's got the same skill set as Ryan Shazier, and that's solely what the Steelers have been missing is just that presence in the middle of the field. You know, just for pass protection and plugging holes in the run game. I think as much as it falls on Ben's shoulders to carry the Steelers, he can't do much if the defense is what it was last year, especially just late game situations and in just crunch time situations, giving up big plays when they need to get stops. I think that turns around this year, and I don't know. I just have there's not much more than that, but to say that I have a gut feeling. I have a special feeling in my gut that the Steelers
You
make
don't
a
have
run
that
this
hat,
year.
dude. I think you're screwed.
I bought another one, man. So I think I'm dead serious. I leave hats at Spencer's house all the time. So like whenever he like moves, like he's moved like a couple times the last few months. I found like a bunch of hats, and I had like an old Steelers hat that I wore. That the last time I actually wore on a regular basis, the Steelers went to the AFC Championship, and the following year that I don't have it, they missed the playoffs. So I hopefully am embedded enough good energy into this new hat that I picked up to fuel a run at the Super Bowl for the Steelers.
Right.
Let's move on to the NFC. Perpetually most interesting division in the NFL, I think. The NFC East, the Cowboys, the Eagles, the Washington Football Team, and the New York Giants. What do we got?
What a garbage fest, huh?
I mean, the top two. I mean, your top two are elite, and then your bottom two are just absolutely vomit-inducing.
Yeah. So obviously, we know that New York is gonna be so bad, dude.
They're gonna struggle to win more than 2 games this year, I think.
Oh yeah, dude, it's gonna be terrible.
It's gonna
They're
be
gonna
very
be
rough.
they're the very opposite of what the Raiders are. They're gonna be a bad team, but just not fun to watch at all.
Oh yeah, Saquon's gonna be, there's gonna be making SOS signs on the sideline, man.
Just a team that you would just never want to watch.
I think Saquon is in line for 450 touches this year, and he might die.
It might break his body.
There's nothing there for him. They have like one good lineman, and that's it. And everything else around him, just there's nothing that inspires hope. You get rid of Odell, and like to what? For Sterling Shepard to be the next man up, like fine. I don't think Sterling Shepard is a scrub. I don't think he's a number 1 receiver either. It's not a situation in which you go from Antonio Brown to Juju, and that Juju is very much a capable receiver that could be a number 1. Like I don't think I've seen anything from Sterling Shepard that proves to me that he's a number 1. And then you go out and sign Golden Tate, which is like okay, whatever. And then he gets suspended, so that's the guy who's like the guy you was a better chance of being the number 1. You sign him, and he gets suspended, and then like all the while, like you're not even sure who's going to be throwing passes to these guys, whether it's going to be Eli or Daniel Jones, and both of those options make me want to cry.
That's their guy, dude.
What's the plan if you're the Giants?
Cry.
I don't know, man. Who do you think takes this division?
I think the Cowboys take the division. I just think they are going to build on a really, as actually as dumb as that sounds, to be honest with you, but I think they'll be okay, honestly. And obviously Amari Cooper was like a really big pickup for them last season, so I think it changes things for them. And if they have a full season out of him, which again is a question mark, to be honest with you, then they should win the division.
I just there's too many question marks. Not even like with their on the field product, but with like who's gonna be there. There's questions about like their content, like their continuity is being threatened right now because Zeke is saying like he won't play without a new contract, and if Zeke doesn't play, that's basically the Cowboys' hopes of winning this division going down the drain. They're a good team. Dak Prescott's okay. Like, he's an above-average quarterback. Amari Cooper is an above-average receiver. None of that stuff is moving without Zeke Elliott. Like, that's just plain and simple. They can have that great offensive line. They can have these decent, they can have Jason Witten coming back for whatever he thinks the Cowboys are going to be this year.
That's weird.
Like, yeah, exactly. If Zeke is not in pads that first week 1, I do not trust the Cowboys to win this. I don't trust them to win the division. I do trust the Eagles. I like the Eagles a lot. I think Carson Wentz finally healthy. He's going to be geared up for a really, really big season. I think getting him a true deep threat in Deshaun Jackson again is huge. especially for someone with his skill set. I think it opens up his bag a little more. I I like the Eagles to potentially go all the way to the Super Bowl.
Really?
I do.
Wow. Okay, that is a
Their
bold statement
defense is
right
going to be
there, sir.
tough.
Um,
I think
yeah,
they stand to make a big improvement.
and the biggest argument you can make there as well is that like they actually did it, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And I think they, as far as continuity from past Super Bowl winning teams, they have the most of it outside of the Patriots, obviously. Because all you really
Yeah,
need for
I
continuity
just
on
it's
the
just hard to do
Patriots,
it like so close together,
yeah,
you
of
know?
course,
Like
unless you're the
so,
Patriots,
yeah, nothing count. The Patriots don't count for anything
they're
ever.
just
They suck.
they're the biggest outlier in the history of sports.
Yeah, they suck eggs. Is the best way to describe it.
So what do you are you what's making you not as enthusiastic about the Eagles?
But honestly, a lot of it is that like it's just hard to do it back to
Mm-hmm.
back, you know. And then you got a quarterback coming off of injury. You really don't know like yet like if he's going to be back and be as good as he is. He almost had the Derek Carr s type of effect where he has this horrible injury after playing really well, and he comes back and it's like he doesn't play as well as you originally thought he was going to play as.
Mm-hmm. Let's see.
And now he has a full season, so
I obviously you take into account the assumption that he's going to play throughout this whole season healthily. I think they're just stacked, especially on the offensive side of the ball. You got Wentz, obviously he's a stud. Jordan Howard, I think you can still get some good production out of him. I don't think he's the guy he was at his peak in Chicago. But if your number one and number two are Alshon Jeffrey and you have a quarterback like Carson Wentz, I think you are in a very good position to score touchdowns. That's my take.
yeah, health as an assumption is never easy though.
Yeah, that's also true, and I think it's the same thing with the Cowboys and Zeke. If Zeke isn't there, the Cowboys have no chance. Without Foles, if Wentz goes down, they have no chance. But I'm gonna push my chips in on Carson Wentz this year. I may look like an idiot for it, but I'm gonna do it. And we all know how poor I am with predicting,
Me
football.
putting
So
in my chips on Cowboys winning the division is also pretty dumb. So
I mean,
just
they
because the
did it
Cowboys always
last
find a
year.
way to not be good.
That's true. Like they do everything they do everything in spite of doing what good football teams do. So the next one is probably the most intriguing because you can make an argument that the team wins this division has a decent chance of going to the Super Bowl as well. It's the NFC North. We have the Bears, the Vikings, the Packers, and the Detroit Lions. Who do we got?
There's the Packers and the Detroit Lions. It should be the Packers, but then again,
It
it's just
should
the
be.
Packers every year, and they just don't.
It should be. It should have been the Packers the last few years, and it's. I don't know, man. The Packers, they still don't inspire much. When I look at their depth chart, especially
I
like just
know
their skill
every
positions,
season,
man.
and they always draft defense in the draft, and they never are that good.
They
And
never have that great of a defense. Yeah. Let's see. Green Bay ranked 18th in total yards allowed last season, so not great. Not great at all.
no, it was ass.
I look at you got Aaron Rodgers, obviously, but your one and two receivers are Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams is great,
He's good.
but you got Geronimo Allison as your number two, and I'm just like that's not inspiring. You got Jimmy Graham still as your tight end. I don't think Jimmy Graham has ever been the same since he broke his leg in Seattle. And you have Mercedes Lewis, who I am shocked is still in the league.
What is he? 8,000 years old.
Mercedes Lewis has to be 40 years old. He's 35. That's impossible. He must have entered the league when he was 19.
When he was 15.
There's no way. Anyway, this is not inspiring.
No.
I'm not inspired by this. And when I look at the Bears, I look at a team that has a very good defense. I look at a team that has a defense that was top 3 last year. Quite literally. It allowed less than
You
300
also have a
yards per game.
quarterback who can't throw more than like 10 yards down the
I mean,
field.
but like when you look, but even then, like he couldn't throw it last year, but they still went 12-4. I think if their defense is just as strong, I'm doubling down on the Bears to win it again this year.
If they have to depend on him at all for anything, then they're screwed.
I It's a lot easier, as we've seen with teams like the Jaguars. It's a lot easier to ignore like the shortcomings of your quarterback when you have a defense as good as they do. And as long as they have some continuity there, I think they are set up nicely to win the division. How do you feel about the Vikings?
It's another team that just should be good every year. That's not really. I'm gonna say they should improve this year, but Lord knows, man. Like,
It's just really like the Kirk Cousins experiment hasn't really like worked out in the favor that I
yeah,
think they
and
wanted
and
it
the
to.
idea is that another year brings another like year better of like being in the offense, but it's just hard to say that out loud and sound serious.
I think they are getting Dalvin Cook back, which should be cool. Should be good for them.
They
Question
also are
marks?
probably going to give up on the Ole Miss kid, Laquan Treadwell, who they thought was going to be good. He's had too many years to be good, and he stinks.
I mean, like when I look at them, it's like it's a team that should win. Like their offense should win, and then their defense has always been pretty good. Their defense is still top five.
Yeah,
Top five defense, and you have Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs and Kirk Cousins. It comes down to Kirk. That means essentially it comes down to Kirk Cousins, and I don't like Kirk Cousins. I never really have, and I don't think that he's the kind of guy who can get the most out of these guys that are around him. Maybe Dalvin Cook comes back this year, and he's just as electric as he was in those earlier parts of his rookie year. He didn't play like that was the no, it was. Yeah, so he didn't really have that much of an he didn't have an inspiring year last season either. 615 yards on 133 rushes. 4.6 yards per game is not bad. Not yards per rush isn't bad, but you would expect more. And so that's the whole thing with the Vikings. Like you said, you would expect more from them, and you don't really get it. And I think that's kind of what we're lined up for this year as well.
probably. I'm not gonna. I'm at least at the very least. I'm not putting any of my poker chips on their square of lottery winning.
So you're going with the Packers, huh?
Yeah, I hate myself too for doing it. It doesn't feel right, but it's like I have to at some
I feel
point. I have to.
feels gross and disgusting doing it, but I'm gonna do it.
Yes,
All right,
it
so that's the
does.
NFC North. Spencer's going with the Packers. I am going with the Chicago Bears. Let's move on to the NFC South, a much more disgusting division. We have the New Orleans Saints coming off 13-3 season, the Atlanta Falcons coming off a 7-9 season, the Carolina Panthers also coming off a 7-9 season, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers coming off a 5-11 season. This feels almost as much of a mortal lock as the AFC East does. It's going to be the Saints.
Yeah, they're still good. So that's a big part of winning football games, and everyone else is not good.
That is like it's such a testament to how bad the rest of the division is. When Drew Brees probably has his worst season in I don't know, maybe like 10 years, and they went 13-3. Like the whole thing with Drew Brees is like get him a defense, it's going to be game over. And they got him a defense. They got him a defense now. And it shows what happens in the regular season. It's unfortunate they went up against a team like the Rams who had an even more like who had a defense that was even more like terrifying, especially the mercenaries they hired last season, and having Goff like turn into John Elway for specific points of the season. He had like 4,000 yards. But like I said, NFC South feels like a mortal lock for the Saints.
Yeah, it's not. There's not much to really even
What are we
discuss there.
like? Are we talking about the Falcons? We talking about the Panthers? We talking about how Bruce Arians is going to turn Jameis Winston around? I'm not buying any of that. Not over Drew Brees, Michael Thomas on a fresh contract, their defense, Cam Jordan, rushing the passer. Like none of that. Nothing from any of those other teams even comes close to making me doubt what the Saints are going to do next season.
It's going down, and so it's not. Never mind. It's going down. I was going to
NFC
try to say
South.
something, but it fell apart as I went along.
NFC South. We're looking at the New Orleans Saints for me and Spencer. All right, so I think we're on to our last division here, the NFC West, which is a pretty interesting division, I will say. I am interested in a couple teams. I do think. Well, what do you think? Who do you got off the bat, and then we'll talk about the rest of the teams.
Let's get the breakdown here, so the good
Oh
people
yes,
at home.
got you. We have the Los Angeles Rams coming off a 13-3 Super Bowl appearance. The Seattle Seahawks coming off of a 10-6 season. The San Francisco 49ers coming off a 4-12 season, picking up Nick Bosa in the draft, I believe, right? Yes, Nick Bosa, 49ers. Yep. All right, and we have the Arizona Cardinals coming off a 3-13 season and picking up Kyler Murray.
And theoretically, man, it should be it could be the 49ers year, but I don't know, dude.
I don't know. Yeah, you got Garoppolo.
But the Rams are going to be good. But again, repeating and going back to the Super Bowl, which kind of goes along with being good the next season, is like really, really hard to repeat and almost never gets done.
Yeah, it's harder to go to but I would also say it's harder to go to the Super Bowl twice than it is to win your division twice. Those things aren't mutually exclusive, and Goff was absolutely electric last year, like to his credit. And to our credit, because we were in on Jared Goff from the absolute beginning, and no one else was.
Yeah.
People forget that.
I agree.
You guys are lucky that we weren't doing this podcast back in 2016.
I agree that we're both great people.
Yes. Football geniuses.
Yeah.
Anyway, yes. Goff coming off 4,600 yards, 32 touchdowns, and just leading his team to the Super Bowl, essentially. Obviously, you go up against, you take a young, inexperienced quarterback like Jared Goff, and you throw him against the longest-standing dynasty in the history of football and the Patriots. It's not going to go too well for him, and it didn't. But I think obviously it's going to be hard to replicate what they did last season. But I do think they're going to be able to replicate it to a degree where they can win the division this year. So I'm going to go with the Rams.
I'm going to go with the Rams too. They're just too good. But I could also see it starting to fall apart for them.
Yeah, but that's where it becomes more interesting with this division, because you have the Seahawks, who, as long as they have Russell Wilson, they're always going to be in that conversation. The 49ers, you would expect, okay, you've got your guys, you got your guys on defense, you got your quarterback. This is the year where you put it together. So you would expect them to be competitive, right?
Right.
What do you think?
I'm stumped, I gotta say.
The 49ers got you flabbergasted?
They should be good this year. But it's like a mystery team, because what's his name went down with such that bad injury,
Garoppolo.
Jimmy Garoppolo, as I like to call him.
Just completely botching his name.
I mean,
Porn star Jimmy G, man.
You can credit my cousin Tucker for the Jimmy Garoppolo, because he played as him in Madden, or not as Madden, but he knew him from Madden, and he's like, I think this kid's gonna be really good someday, and so we always call him Jimmy Garoppolo. But yeah, they have a really solid team, and they picked up someone really solid. They obviously in the draft. Oh, gosh, sorry, my chair almost fell over.
Good lord. Get it together over there.
They picked up someone really, really good in the draft defensively, and it kind of seems like they have a complete team, or at least a decent team on both sides of the ball, right? But yeah, it depends on how Jimmy Garoppolo responds from the injury, and also we really just haven't seen much of Jimmy Garoppolo in his career.
He really has not played, football at an extended point. So
yeah, at any time in his career.
They have
from him typically good though.
Yeah, I mean, they have above average role player or skill players. So, you got Jerick McKinnon out of the backfield, Deebo Samuel, Dante Pettis, George Kittle is really good. Kyle Juszczyk is one of the best fullbacks in the league. It's all lined up for them to make a jump this year. I'm not sure if they're going to make a jump big enough to take a bite out of the Seahawks or the Rams, but they should improve this year. And it's going to be, I'm going to say it's going to be a disappointment if they don't. If they don't improve this year, it's going to be a disappointment.
Yeah, big time.
So we can talk about the Cardinals too, because I think the Cardinals are also interesting
They'll be a
because
fun team to watch, man, without a doubt.
you take, you have this kind of this coach who is kind of hired in the same vein of, as the Rams hiring Sean McVay. They kind of take a young guy who they think can be kind of like a football revolutionary, who can kind of inject some of the college game into the NFL, and you get him the most electric college player in the country last season, and you hope that that mix makes produces some wins. And I think at the
Football
same,
babies.
yeah, exactly. What do you think about the Cardinals?
Well, they're going to be bad this year, but I'm really excited to see what's his name play football on the field, and I
So
also it'd be
Kyler
interesting
Murray.
to see them play. Yeah, it would be more interesting to see a more college-based system in the NFL, which is something that it seems to be tending to go towards, right?
I mean, we
Um,
always say that, and then we see things like Chip Kelly's offense be really effective in the first couple of years, but then it's just like the same thing. If people get a full year of film on it, it ceases to be effective. But you still look at they got Kyler Murray, they got David Johnson, the last time I saw David Johnson was I think a million years ago, but I'm pretty sure he's still good at football. He's
yeah,
coming
and
off an
now he'll have
injury.
a lot more room on the field, obviously, because you have a mobile quarterback out there, so that will be good for them.
Same thing with Larry Fitzgerald's gonna play till he's a million years old, and he's still gonna scratch 1,000 yards. He's still gonna find a way to scratch 1,000 yards. So
Yeah,
and their defense, they have a lot of vets. They have vets and they have guys who are experienced, and I like their defense. Picking up Terrell Suggs is interesting.
mm.
They're going to be better. I don't think they're going to be that much better, but they're going to be better, and I think that's going to be an interesting division. You're going to get some good games out of that division. A lot of these teams playing each other twice a year. I think there's going to be an opportunity there for the Niners and the Cardinals to steal some games from the Rams and the Seahawks, and I am going to greatly anticipate those games.
Yeah, that'll probably be the most fun division to watch, I'll say,
All
without a
right,
doubt.
Spence. Who's coming out of the NFC this year? It's tough. The NFC is much worse than the AFC.
It feels like it should be the Saints to me.
As we started talking about it, I kind of came around on the Saints as well, less so on the Eagles.
And
And
of course, all the Saints fans are still fucking super salty about all this shit.
It's not like there was any football to play after that they could have capitalized on and won that game.
It's not like they had the ball first in overtime, but whatever.
But yes, I've since
Whatever. Yeah.
yeah. No, what can you do about it, really? Except change the entire fundamental ruling of football now that we can fucking challenge penalties and stuff like that. But
Oh God, yeah.
since we started talking about it, I did come around on the Saints. I do also believe that they're going to be coming out of the NFC. Who wins the Super Bowl?
Who wins?
Put it on the
Super-
line right now.
The Patriots. I'm not gonna say anything else. I'm not stupid.
The Pittsburgh Steelers are going to win the Super Bowl this year.
Nice.
I refuse to let another team get to 7 before the Steelers do. The Patriots were fine.
You may refuse.
I was fine with the Patriots getting to 6 because the Steelers had been at 6 for such a long time. It's time for us to get to 7, man. As long as we get to 7 first, I'll be all right. So I'm going with the Steelers.
I don't
this
think the
year.
Patriots care about your feelings. I'll be honest with
They
you.
really don't, but we beat them in the regular season last year, so
Oh, okay.
I'm heavily gassed on that right now.
All is well.
Yes. All
All
right.
is well.
So that's going to do it for this episode of Delivering Sports. It's good to be back. Spencer was on the other side of the planet for a while.
Yeah, you guys can go check it out on Argy Culture. I did some daily vlogs.
Also, I've started up my own channel. It's going to be kind of a branching off of the stuff that I did on Argy Culture. It's called Millennial Falcon. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's not going to be a lot of video content. I'm going to be doing a lot of blog content under the Millennial Falcon brand. But that's where our podcast is going to be. That's where the more long-form podcasts are going to be. So if you are interested in stuff like the movie reviews,
We'll also
and
put
all
it
that
on the
kind of
Apple
stuff,
Store
we will put it. I'll get it
on
syndicated
Apple Podcasts.
on Apple Podcasts for sure. That's going to be there. It's going to be there as well. I'm excited to get that started. Excited to continue the stuff we were doing on Argy Culture. Getting back into it.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's what it's all about.
For sure. As always, guys, if you like this, share it, like it, subscribe to the channel. Give us your thoughts on who's going to win each of these divisions. Give us your thoughts on who's going to win the Super Bowl this year. And have a good day.
Blessed may your days be. Oh, God.
Yeah, what he said. All right. See you guys.